Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Operation Mist podcast, where we bring lovely people on who can talk to women and healthcare providers so that they can learn how to trust, prepare, and protect their bodies throughout every phase of womanhood. And I am so excited to have my very best friend on today. It's a joy to have this conversation with you, Amatella, but it was even more of a joy to be on the journey with you as you got pregnant and delivered your sweet baby and now are thriving post-delivery. And so I would love for you to introduce yourself to the listeners. And just so everyone knows, I think we've known each other for 2 decades now. It's been
I know. Is that amazing or what? I'm so glad to be here joining you to have this conversation. I too probably would have thought we'd never have this conversation. You know me. I wasn't sure I was going to have a baby, but here it is. I'm very glad that I have gone through this journey. So, hi everyone. I'm Tala. I'm a 37-year-old mom to an 8-month-old baby girl. I am a very close friend to Catherine, but I'm a healthcare provider. I'm a pharmacist, and I work within a managed care organization.
Yeah. So I love that you started out by saying you're a 37-year-old mom. Okay. So let's talk about that. Okay. So how did it feel? And by the way, when you said you never thought that you would be having this conversation, yes, for those listening, this young lady got swept off of her feet and knocked up by her wonderful husband very, very quickly. It was the best thing. He loves her so much, and it's really sweet to watch you grow your family with Tara. So okay, so yes, 37 years old. Can you tell me, or 37 years young? That's how we feel about it.
That's right.
Right? Okay, so how did you feel being 37 and just knowing what people say about pregnancies that are 35 plus? Let's just start there.
Yeah, so I did not really take heed to the age concerns that I guess my providers did. I think more so than your age, it's your health status, right? Like how healthy you are, just being able to kind of like complete this journey with a family and a partners to help you, I think were far more important than my actual age. Obviously, when I first went to the doctors, they were like, advanced maternal age. And I'm like, no. Let's not use that term. Even though, yes, that's a term used for people who are having babies 35 and older. But I think as I went through this journey, my age had very little impact on just the whole process like at all. So I think, I think obviously age is something that we should be cognizant of. But I don't think it should impede your journey in pregnancy.
I love that. I love that. So can you also tell us what was the difference between when you got married and when you got pregnant? Was it difficult for you to get pregnant? Did you feel like you were waiting a long time, or did you feel like it happened?
Honestly, I thought it was going to take far longer than it did. We decided about a year, was it a year? Maybe not even a year into our marriage that we wanted to grow our family. Just, being that we were older, our parents were older, we wanted them to have that experience as grandparents. We didn't want to wait too long. So we, decided to start in a given month. And 2 months later, I was pregnant. I thought I would have had, 6, 7 months. I was anticipating that length of time, but it did not take that much time.
Like, oh, such a blessing. Okay, so can you walk us through your pregnancy experience? And if you leave out anything I think we should share, I'll bring it up. But
definitely. Like I said, so it took us about 2 months to get pregnant. And initially I was uncertain whether I was actually pregnant or not. So I delayed my first doctor visit. Don't do that. I delayed it a smidgen. So actually went to the doctor at 10 weeks where they confirmed my pregnancy. And during that very first visit, I actually told them I had this kind of mass in my stomach that felt like it was moving, my lower abdomen. And they were like, oh, I wonder what that is. And it turned out that I had a fibroid. And they were very I don't want to say they were very concerned with that. I think they were used to identifying women with fibroids, but it was my first, and it was a large fibroid, about 10 centimeters. And that really did impact my pregnancy journey a little bit in terms of they were concerned with it impacting the baby's growth, so I required more ultrasounds as a result. And then there were potential for like issues to come up, so they monitored me because of that. But I would say that the rest of my pregnancy was as, I don't want to say as expected. There's nothing that you can expect in a pregnancy. Everything's a little bit different, right? The first trimester was a little bit difficult. You hear always about women being kind of sick because of nausea and vomiting. That's usually the top symptom. But I ended up having migraines, and it was very kind of debilitating for me, as I've never really had migraines before. And just being in that situation where you have migraines almost daily did keep me isolated, and it was a hard first trimester. Despite the migraines, though, the rest of the first trimester was fine. I talked with the doctors about, options I could have, and there's various options. You can try to take medicine for it, but I decided to kind of wait to see if the migraines would go away. And sometime within the second trimester, they finally went away. I had a wonderful second trimester. I got to eat. I was excited about that. The baby was going well, so that was a pleasure to see. So really no concerns. And then sometime in the third month of my second trimester, I had a lot of pain in my stomach. I couldn't sleep. It lasted for 2 days, which was horrible, to be honest. I went to the hospital, I went to the ER, and they couldn't really confirm what was happening, but they suspected that it was my fibroid. They said it's very common for women to have pain due to fibroid. Sometimes the fibroid is changing in consistency and stuff, and so that would cause pain. So I got medicine, and I ended up being better, but it was a eye-opening experience. I don't think I would want to go through that again with the second or third or how many other babies I may have. But I've heard that women are in the hospital for 2 to 3 days with severe pain, so it's not something to be really dismissed. It's very common.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that was my biggest event with the second trimester, and my third trimester progressed wonderfully. Every woman will attest that once you get kind of near the end, you're both excited and just like nervous, right? You're like, get this baby out of me, but oh my gosh, I'm not quite ready. And that definitely was the case, right? Like, do we have everything ready? Do we have our plan? You're doing all this research, trying to anticipate what to expect, especially if you're first time off. It's you can't anticipate it. It's just gonna happen. So just go with the flow, right? But yeah, no, it was great. I think the pregnancy itself was wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. So when we got to, let's say, closer to your due date, what do you remember that time? How did it feel? What?
Oh, Lordy. Yes. Okay, so everything in the book that could bring my baby out, I was trying it. I was walking miles. I was, I was just doing little pumping. I was doing everything. I eating hot food, just like the due date was approaching, and I felt like this baby wasn't going to come on time. And statistically, that's actually very true for first-time moms. The babies usually come somewhere around 40 weeks plus 6 or so days. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give this baby a little more than 40 weeks. And if they don't come, then, we'll see what we're going to do next. A lot of doctors, depending on who your provider is, they're concerned, right? Like around 39 weeks, they want to, maybe induce you if you want. Around 40 weeks, they're wanting to do an induction, definitely. Most hospitals won't let you go beyond 41 weeks for various reasons, and you can definitely do research to understand why. So I didn't want to get an induction. I really just didn't. I heard not pleasant things about it. So, that last week I was working very hard. to get the baby out. And God was so merciful to me. I had my induction on Saturday, a week after the baby was due. And the Friday before, I started having my contractions. So I didn't have to go through that experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that. And I remember when you told me I have my induction Saturday, and I said, well, why are we doing an induction? Oh, my doctor won't let us go past 41 and 1. And so then at that point, you just pray, or you just don't show up for the induction, right? We didn't want to
Exactly.
do that. And so God was so good. But I do
Yes.
want people to hear that if nothing is wrong with you and your doctor continues to push for an induction, then you can go back again and say, hey, can we possibly push it again? And I know you did that to the Monday,
Mhm.
but you didn't end up needing it, like you said.
Yes, right. I definitely, just knowing the average when a first time mom will have their baby, I definitely encourage you to at least just wait to 41 weeks. You can have a plan with your doctor, but hopefully you will not need it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so before we talk about your wonderful delivery, okay, how about, so can you talk about the role? Because for me, like I said, it was such a joy to monitor you. But throughout your pregnancy and up to your delivery, what did you feel the role of monitoring was? How did you utilize
Yeah.
it to guide your health throughout?
So I think there are two main aspects of monitoring that was very helpful. One, as a first time mom, you don't know what's like supposed to happen, what's normal and what's not normal. And you can be very kind of apprehensive. And having the monitoring, knowing that you're compared to especially other women, that you're looking good, I think that gave me a sense of peace. Like, okay. And of course, my stats were beautiful. And this is another aspect where I mentioned health versus age, like knowing that statistically, looking at my heart rate or looking at my sleep, just looking at all those numbers, that I was doing better than most women. I was like, yay. Like, it was wonderful to see. I was very happy to know that I was tolerating the pregnancy even at 36, so well.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, because a part of it is that you are a sleeper. You're such a good sleeper, right?
Yeah, I
So
was such a good sleeper. Once that baby comes, you're not doing any sleeping. But yeah, it was just amazing to know that I was sleeping so much longer than other people. I was like, yes, my body needs this. And I was glad to see it. Yeah.
I was too, because I feel like if someone's not in the habit of getting not just sleep, but good sleep,
Mhm.
right, then from a health perspective, we know that good sleep quality is associated with better health outcomes.
Mhm.
And so you had a running start in that area, okay? Because while you work hard and you make very good money as a pharmacist, you prioritize your sleep, which is really, really amazing. And it made me so happy to, like you said, see your stress low, your
Mhm.
body charged so well, your sleep quality beautiful. And I hope that as people listen, they hear what you said, which is there is age and then there is health. And if you have health, then your age should not be the deciding factor
Mhm.
for your decisions when it comes to your pregnancy, your birth, and the way that you recover, right? And so that was just beautiful to hear you say that it made a difference, because we have a mom right now, she's 49, she's actually delivering this month. And
Oh,
isn't that beautiful? And I
it
think
is wonderful.
yeah, it really is, that if you can see how your body's doing and it's doing really, really well, it's encouraging. And if you see that it's not doing really, really well, then you just
Yeah,
course correct so that it does,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. But you walking, you sleeping, your food choices. And like you said, when you were able to eat, then you have more control over that. But it was really nice to just wake up and say, wow, she's doing great, and move on to the next mom, right?
I'm glad I made it easy.
So easy. Okay. So did you have a second thing to say, or did you want to go to your delivery? I need
No,
to.
we can definitely go to the delivery.
Okay. Okay, so we pee, we bleed. Tell us about your mucus plug. I mean, it's so, do you
Yeah.
remember everything? It was so exciting.
Oh my, exciting. Okay, kind of. So I definitely let me start by saying I was having my baby in a hospital setting, and I had decided to wait at home for as long as possible, knowing just researching everything that people had recommended. So the day was Friday, and I think I had tried just about everything except castor oil for delivery. And my mom was like, no, 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 do not try that castor oil. And I'm like, Mama, I don't want an induction, right? So anyway, that morning I tried to pump and I did a little manual pump and I was like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. And contraction started. And it was nothing like I anticipated, the feeling of a contraction, despite all the research I did. But it was, very far apart. So we took it easy. We enjoyed the day. We made some food, made sure we were prepped and we had everything ready. And as the day progressed, I had more contractions. They were getting closer. My water broke probably, the day started around 10 with contractions. So my water broke sometime around like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, give or take a couple hours. So I was just like, oh, okay, this is it. This is not a big contraction. We're actually doing this. The water breaking experience was actually weird because it was a little water initially, and then I got up from the bed and then it was actual water. I'm like, this is what water breaking looks like. So I was like, okay. So despite the water breaking, the contractions still stayed about 6 to 7 minutes apart. I used an app just to track the timing, and we had dinner. And sometime around 11 o'clock, we were like, okay, it's been like 12 hours. These contractions are starting to be about 3 to 4 minutes apart. We think it's time to go to the hospital. So we got ready. We went to the hospital. And I was checked, and it was very sad to hear that I was only 1 centimeter dilated. Ladies, 12 hours of pain and 1 centimeter dilated will be very devastating to you. But it happened, I guess, especially with first time pregnancies and delivery, it's very common, for you to not to be dilated as much. So I stayed in the hospital just given the fact that my water had broken. Their protocols required that I not get checked so much because there was the potential for introducing bacteria to my uterus. So we just stayed there for about 4 hours before another check, at which time I had progressed to, I think, about 3 or so centimeters. So because of my progression, they didn't do an induction. So they had considered doing an induction because I came in and I was like, no, 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 no. We're not doing that. Let's wait and see. And since I was progressing nicely, the need for an induction was dismissed by the doctors. So the pregnancy went on for another 12 hours at the hospital. Everything that I prepared for didn't work. So I just want you to know, I went into the hospital with my birth plan, but my husband and I had discussed being very just flexible. And I think that's an important thing to mention. I only had 1 or 2 things that were very much a requirement, and everything else would be a nice to have. My goal was to have a healthy baby and a safe delivery, right? And however that came up to be. So we progressed, we were monitored. I think the only concern I had with the monitoring is I wanted a wireless monitoring, if anything, so I could move around, and that was not available. So apart from that, the experience was fine at the hospital. They had great nurses who came and checked on me. And then at some point I was like, this baby's about to come out. Let's go. Like this is it, right? And they're like, okay, we can check you. And they're like, oh, you're 9 centimeters. Let's wait a little bit more. And I'm like, okay, of course, okay. It's fine. So, yeah, so 9 centimeters, like an hour progressed, and I was like, no, I'm ready. This is 10 centimeters. They were like wanting me to wait. They didn't want to obviously check too much. And I was like, this baby is coming, right? So, one of the benefits of not having an epidural, and they're very few, was that I got to deliver exactly as I wanted. I delivered with my back to the provider over the bed. And it was such a great experience to push. One, it was great to have that pressure kind of removed from me. But it was also great just to kind of like pace my own delivery. They watched me, they felt like I was doing great. They even, the nurses were concerned that when the doctor came in, that they would want me to change positions, but I was doing such a good job with my breathing, with the baby progressing down the canal, that they let me stay that way. And then I, finally delivered after about 40 or so minutes of pushing. No, wait, I said that wrong. It was an hour and 10 minutes. I should know that. So it wasn't too long, but it wasn't too short either. And yeah, and then I had my baby.
Oh my gosh. It was great. It was so great. Okay. So we have to back up because I want people to get the time frames. Yeah. So mucus plug, you lose it, right? And you were like super excited. I wiped, I have blood. I was like, okay, yes. It may still be a while. So
it was a while.
It's a while, right? Water breaks, same thing. Water can break and it still be a while. 9 centimeters and it can still be a while. And I really want people to hear that because there is more time or can be more time between the steps than we anticipate. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it can be discouraging. It can be like, man, I'm not progressing, when in reality, your body is progressing at the pace at which your baby needs to rotate and descend and come out. Okay. And so I just love that you and your sweet husband did not get tired in the waiting process, right? I know. So we have to talk about this because this is when I fell in love with Tara. I mean, I did when we first met, and then again on the morning of your delivery.
Yes.
Right. So it's funny because, okay, so I get a text from him. Can you talk to us about your pain relief methods? So you did not do an epidural, but what did you do? Can you remind me?
Yeah, so initially I was using the ball to bounce. I was doing breathing techniques. As I got to around, I think 5 or so centimeters, the pain shifted or changed, and the things I wanted to do in terms of lying or sitting no longer worked. I actually had to stand to get the most pain relief, and that was exhausting, actually. And I will admit, like at some point, I was just like, I want to be rested so that I can have the energy for delivery. So we talked to the provider through multiple options, and we finally settled for just like a bolus of fentanyl. And I was concerned with this option for a while, but I felt like, okay, like if I can at least get 30 minutes of sleep, I will be ready. The fentanyl lasted all of 10 seconds. I should know that as a pharmacist that it has very short half-life, but I wasn't expecting it. I'm being facetious. So it lasted 30 minutes, right? It did help. I did get a nap. But it really wasn't the level of pain relief that I anticipated. I know there's some other options like nitric oxide. I'm not sure if the hospitals all offer that, but ultimately, like it was bearing the pain and knowing that as long as I was making progress, I could survive the rest of the hours left. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. When he was like, what can we do? What can we do? She doesn't want to give epidural. And it was like, yeah, no, because then she'll have to have a catheter. And it was like, no. And it was an hour after that. It's like you said, I think it was an hour and 10 minutes after that your baby just got here.
Yeah, just came.
Yeah. Okay. So baby's here. How does breastfeeding go? How is it the first 24, 48 hours after? Let's say?
Every mom's experience when the baby comes out is different. Like you might be so exhausted that you're kind of out of it. Sometimes you're so excited, you're so emotional, so you're crying. I was exhausted. I held this baby and I was like, okay, we did it. Yeah. So, helped her. And I think this is where I actually really enjoyed my hospital experience, to actually say we had skin to skin contact. She had skin to skin contact with her dad. Then I was sewn up for I had a small perineal tear. So they sewed me up and we went through, all of her preliminary kind of like check the baby in the same room. And then we stayed in the delivery room for about an hour and a half, and then transitioned to our room. And the experience was wonderful. I loved just obviously seeing the baby and like, she's so tiny and I can't believe I made this like baby. So yeah, it was a great postpartum, experience at the hospital. They checked on us regularly. And I feel like if you ever have any concerns with the not being checked on, or if you have any bleeding concerns, you should voice that to your nurses. Luckily for me, they were there regularly. They walked me into the bathroom, checked my bleeding, checked my stomach, checked my temperature. They checked everything. So it was a very good experience.
Yes, I love this. I love this. You know why I couldn't wait to, well, aside from the obvious reasons that I just love seeing your beautiful face, but I love people being able to hear amazing birth stories. I feel like there's a big focus on the maternal health crisis. Right? It is very important to give that the attention that it needs and deserves. And at the same time, women do not need to go into pregnancy or delivery fearful. They just need to go in prepared, understanding that they can have the experience that they desire and the outcome. You said healthy baby, safe delivery process, right? So whatever that looks like is what you wanted. And that's what you got. And so I love hearing it. And I love telling more stories like yours so that people can see themselves in your story and say, I can have a fibroid, I can have some pain, I can have some nausea, I can have some things that don't go the way that, that is predicted essentially by providers, by the medical system. I can go to 41 weeks and still have a healthy delivery and a great postpartum period. It was so nice because, when we go back to your health, I think your last blood pressure that we had was maybe 110/68, just so low and beautiful. And after delivery, while your resting heart rate didn't go up too high during your pregnancy because of your health, it came down nicely. Your stress levels went down even lower. Your body charged even better. And that's what we're looking for. Does the body act like it has delivered a baby afterwards? And yours did. It was so nice. Okay, so tell us the role. Were you going to say something?
Well, I just wanted to point out that I did not do this alone. Obviously, I had you, which was wonderful. I had my husband, and you definitely need advocates when you go into this process. Not every provider you are going to meet is going to be, they're going to be busy. They have a lot going on, and maybe you're not their top priority, unfortunately. So you have to be able to surround yourself with people who can assist you and can just champion for you when you're in the hospital, because that's definitely something that I am so happy I had my husband to help me do that.
Yeah, hubby's the best. Hubby's the best. Okay, so aside from hubby, or in addition to hubby, can you talk about the support that you had after delivery? Because sometimes, let's say that it was just you and hubby, right? But that's not the Nigerian way, right? So can you talk to us just about the beauty of what happens culturally after you have a baby? So what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so I will say that I would say that you may have an idea of what you want your postpartum like support to be, but you don't know until you're actually there. I know some people want to just be with their husband and be kind of like alone and have that time to invest into their baby. And others want to be surrounded by family to love on their child. And I definitely came into the experience wanting to have people with me, which is kind of contrary to my personality, because I'm very much like, no, I got it. And I would like to be alone. But I wanted that experience to be present for my mom, right? And I definitely wasn't sure what I was going to get when I kind of went home. Like, what was that experience going to be like? So I had the pleasure, obviously, of having my husband there. His mom came around regularly. His sister came to visit, and my mom came around 6 weeks and stayed with me for 4 weeks. And it was like different. Like, as a mom, like you're like sometimes anxious about your baby in those first couple of months, and it's hard to relinquish control. And I'm not saying you have to, but those people are there to help you. They're there to support you. So definitely leverage them as needed, and then be able to, vocalize what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with, even if it's your mom. I have a very like straightforward relationship with my mom. So I was like, nah, we're not doing that. I don't care if we did it in Nigeria. This is America. We're not doing it. And I would tell her that. And other times I would just be like, okay, what's the rationale for why you do that? Like, it's just important to know the whys and not just kind of let culture push that towards your child, right? So that was definitely kind of experience that I learned. But I think I was very satisfied with the first like 6 weeks of being at home and just with the people I had around me. I wanted to be walking and moving, and I was like, here, take the baby. I'm happy just like being around and walking. And other people are just like, no, I'll hold the baby, you clean, you do dishes. And, like I said, just communicate what your needs are. Those people are there to support you. So,
Yeah, I love that. I remember, you had been essentially keeping about maybe 3,000 or less steps. You were kind of around the 3,000 area, and your body was really loving that. And so just for everyone listening, for the first 2 weeks after delivery, blood pressure can be harder to manage. And so what we try to get our mommies to do is to rest, right? To get rest, not to be on bed rest, but to just make sure they're not like out and about and doing a lot. And you did a really good job of that. And then baby appointment came up.
Yes, like moving around,
Like,
doing
what
stuff.
happened?
Yes, just went up because I moved. I'm just kidding. Yeah,
Right.
so like, yeah, it took a while for my body to do the things I used to do. Like, I wanted to jump back into things around week 3 or 4 with like slight limitations. And I could do them, but my body was reflecting that it was a lot on it. So I needed to be cognizant of that and pull back when I was seeing it.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that. I love that awareness, and I love the adjustment, because the awareness without the adjustment is not effective.
Mhm.
And so it was really nice to see that. And literally within 2 days of the stress being high, and it just went right back down. But it really is a constant wake up, check, see what should my day
Right.
look like, right? And okay, so how much time did we take off? How much time did we think we would want off?
So,
And then how much time
um,
did you take off?
yeah, so I took a whole 12 weeks off, and my husband took, I think, the first 6 to 10 weeks, 6 weeks off with me, and then later on took some more time after that. And I think like that was good. I was getting a little restless. I wanted to do something like work, but I will say that once I went back to work, I was like, no, more time off is necessary. You need to care for yourself, and you need to get into a rhythm, right? And having the time off for work allowed me to do like me stuff and like make sure I was healthy. And it was very hard to transition back to full-time work and keep myself as a focus, right? Like, I think I'm not even mastering that at this point. So it's definitely something you need to work on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because you have the added benefit, I think is beautiful, of traveling, where you travel some and then, you're flying back and forth.
Mhm.
And it does make for a complicated settling down period.
Mhm.
And you did a really good job of that. But I do love that you said, sometimes you think you want to go back and you don't, and sometimes you think you don't and you do.
Like you do.
You
Yeah.
really need it. But but you took so much time. You're such a beautiful mom, and your sweet family is so blessed to have you. Yeah. Okay. So we are going to wrap up a little bit. I love the advice that you've already given, right? Don't just hyper focus on your age. Make sure that you're flexible with your plan. Make sure that you communicate your needs postpartum, because they may change either from what you thought you would need or day to day based on what you're feeling. What other advice, if you could think of a couple of things to share with moms, but also with healthcare providers and with family? So,
Yeah.
anybody in the support system, anybody in the healthcare system, what would you say to them?
Yeah, so I will start with moms. You may focus a lot on the pregnancy and maybe not so much on what comes afterwards. And what comes afterwards, I think, actually requires a lot more planning and thought than you would anticipate. So while it is important to get your nursery ready and to think about your plan, I would encourage you to reach out to other moms and kind of get an understanding of what things are you going to run into, what things do you need to be concerned about after you have the baby. That's definitely, I think, something I wish I had kind of thought through more and had spent more time on. I would also say being 8 months into this journey, and I think a lot of people are more advanced than me, that this is a time for you to enjoy your baby. Like we all want to produce like a baby that's hitting their milestones 3 months in advance, you know. We want to make sure that they're like doing everything great, but they're a baby. Enjoy them for the first year. You can make them a productive part of society after that. Like just focus on the first time things that you're going to be seeing, the first moments. Like they do go by fast and quick all at the same time. Fast and slow rather all at the same time. So it's important to just note that. In terms of healthcare providers, what I think I actually had a really good team. I was very happy with them. But I think like, especially when it came to my fibroid, I was very concerned about it. And from a medical perspective, they may have been, you know, wanting to keep me calm. And they were just kind of like, it's fine, very blasé. But I was concerned and I wanted my concerns to be heeded and I wanted more information. And I didn't really feel like I got that. So I think that that's something to just be aware of, like be aware of how much information and just giving like feedback is to a mom when they have concerns about different aspects of their pregnancy. Every pregnancy is different, you know. There are things you're going to experience, and I think that like it goes by quickly. So don't be too concerned that you're in this phase and some things like this. It's going to be completely different in a couple months. But also, once again, it really helps to have people around you who have gone through the same experience, because that first month, especially if you're not telling anyone you're pregnant, it can feel isolating. After that first month or two and you start kind of announcing it, then you can reach out to people you know and get feedback from them and, you know, really ask them questions. That would be great. From a family perspective, just be there to love on, you know, the new mom, love on the baby. It's a stressful time for them. So, you know, you might be really excited that you have a new baby here, but focus on the mom, not just the child, you know. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on. You made my whole day. You have. It's been such a joy just being your friend for this long, and also to see you transition through being a student to being a pharmacist, being a wife, to now being a mom. And you've just done it with so much grace. So,
Oh, thank you. I love you, and I'm so happy to have you on this journey. And if we do it again, I will be sure to make sure you're there. I'm like, Catherine, yeah, you can be in the delivery room this time around. It would have been great. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, we're good. We're good. But yeah, thank you so much for letting me kind of just talk through my journey and all the things I've learned so much so far. So
it was beautiful. It was beautiful.